I'm going to aggravate some people with this one. Hey, what's up? My name is J.M. Chaley and welcome to my channel. This week we're going to talk about boob armor. Yeah, it's a kind of a controversial thing. People get pretty worked up about it. And when I say worked up, I mean agitated. I don't mean horny. Although, maybe both, depending on what camp you're from. There are some strong opinions, but I want to dive into this debate and take my own take on this whole thing, and maybe piss some people off. Why not? For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using examples of functioning armor. I'm going to be talking about the practicality of boob armor or not in terms of functional armor. I'm not going to be talking about chainmail bikinis or boob windows or anything that just doesn't make sense. I think we can all agree that armor should be armor and armor should cover you. So in terms of an effective suit of armor, I'm talking plate that covers you, should there be metal cups? It's really what it comes down to, isn't it? Metal cups. I'm also going to be talking about a cuirass. A cuirass will come down and cover your entire torso and maybe past your hips a little bit. I know this is sometimes called a breastplate, but traditionally a breastplate will only cover your upper chest, and your bottom, your stomach, will be covered by a placard. These are two separate pieces of armor. So if you're talking about boob armor for a breastplate where you have a placard, that would be completely impractical. We're not even going to talk about that, because forming a seam between the top half and the bottom half, when you have this cavity, it's just not practical. I mean, you shove a spear in there, you can shove a sword in there. It's not going to make any sense. I'm not even going to talk about it. So the examples I'm giving are going to be plate armor, cuirasses, and whether or not boob armor makes sense. So let's get right into it. So let's address the elephant in the room. First of all, the appearance of boob armor and why this is so appealing. And I have to apologize. I'm going to say boob a lot in this video. It's just breast armor doesn't really make sense for the context of what I'm describing. It's typically called boob armor. Sorry, boobs.
And I believe it's derogatory to refer to a woman's breasts as boobs, jugs, Winnebagos, or golden bozos.
So anyway, back to what I was talking about. Boob armor has an appeal to some because of the aesthetic. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look good in armor or admiring the curves of a woman. That's all good. It's all good. We're talking about what's functional and what makes sense. And we know that the aesthetic is not a reason to discount the armor for how it looks. Now, you may personally think it looks ridiculous, and that's fine. Everyone has their own opinion. You can think it looks attractive. You can think it looks complimentary on a woman. That's a debate I'm not getting into. You know, as my art teacher once said, you like what you like, and that's that. But we're going to talk about the functionality of it. There are many real-life examples of humans that made real armor that was meant to look good, look appealing. Male cuirass of Greek and Roman times showed, 7-minute abs, looking all good and tasty, right? I mean, come on, what's wrong with that? That's all right. What about this? Okay, that's not functional, but it's definitely meant to be pleasing to the eye, attractive, right? The point is that we can't, or I'm not going to count aesthetics into what makes boob armor functional or not, good or not. Does it make sense or not? I'm going to take aesthetics right off the table, right from the get-go. So with that in mind, let's talk functionality. First of all, women can wear armor that was intended to be crafted for a man. A cuirass is not so skin tight unless you had it form fitted directly to you. There's a lot of space within the cuirass. A lot of times someone that's wearing plate armor would have a gambeson underneath, which is a big, thick, puffy, almost quilted garment that served as padding for comfort and another layer of protection. This was kind of like cloth armor, if you will. And there was a good amount of space between the face of the cuirass and the skin of the wearer. Now, granted, women are not built the same. Everyone has their own curves. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. But for the most part, women can wear just armor like anyone else can. The same armor, kind of, what would have been considered off the rack in those days. There's plenty of examples of that. These are photographs of real women wearing a cuirass that I could put on, that anybody could put on, and there's no problem at all. But wait a minute. You're a fantasy author, and you want to have a certain aesthetic. You want to have curves. You want to have your women in armor that's pleasing to the eye, and you want that look. But that's not going to work for you. It just doesn't make sense. A suit of armor is designed not just to resist the blow from a weapon, but to also deflect it. That's the beauty of plate. Your sword is going to bounce off of it, hopefully, but it's also going to be deflected off of it as well. Now, a lot of times, a cuirass will have sort of a paunch in the bottom, and this will not only serve as, the armor itself to stop the weapon, but the curve, this convex kind of curve, will deflect the weapon away. Because you don't want that sword or spear tip or poleaxe hanging around there any longer than it needs to. It hits, it deflects, it's out of there. You could take that paunch and raise it up here. Now, the problem is that, the reason that it's down here is because your neck and head are up here. So let's deflect it down there. Let's make the weapon go up here. If it's up here, if the convex chamber is kind of up here, then you could run the danger of it deflecting up much closer to your face than you wanted to. You could make the argument that that's what a gorget is for. That covers your neck and out here, right? You'll have pauldrons, hopefully. You'll have a helmet. So it may not be ideal, but it also may not be non-functioning, right? If you want the look, if the look is that important to you, or if the woman's figure necessitates a chamber that has to allow that level of curve. But metal cups, actual like brazier style metal cups, the weapon could hit and lodge itself between the two and not go anywhere. And now your attacker kind of has purchase upon your person and can thrust upwards, right? And some of these weapons of medieval times, not just the sword, but other things like the bec de corbin and pikes and spears and some of the bardishes and axes and stuff had like a spike at the tip. So you may hit with the intention to slash and then have you be in a nice position where you can kind of thrust upwards into a pierce, which might go up through a helmet or into a gorget or something like that. And some of these blows could pierce metal, depending on what kind of weapon you were using. So you don't want the cups because your weapon's going to get trapped, your opponent's weapon is going to get trapped in all that metal cleavage, and you're going to be fucked. It's basically what it comes down to. Now, there's a lot of other reasons why the armor wouldn't be functional if it was cut like a brazier. You know, you wouldn't have a lot of good protection if you did get a blow to the chest, or specifically the upper chest, you'd break your collarbones probably, right? You're not gonna have a good level of protection that a cuirass would normally, it is designed to give you. You're almost robbing the cuirass of its main function, which is this beautiful convex, right, piece of armor that will resist and deflect. You're almost making this skin-tight thing that invites weapons in and have them stay a while they fuck you up. So this is not a good design for armor at all. It may look good to some people, but it just doesn't make sense. So really, in summary, the cuirass is going to do what it does. Women can wear whatever they want to wear. It'll fit, you know, and if there are some exceptions, or if you want a slight show of curves for whatever reason, you could create more of a convex, you know, chamber up around the chest area, and it could still have that same function, but the cups are not gonna work. But if you have to have curves, if you're just chomping at the bit for a woman in armor with, you know, an hourglass figure and all the curves and the waist and the hips and the blah 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 blah, if that you gotta have it, then may I recommend chainmail. Chainmail is going to hug you very close, no matter who you are, what gender you are. Chainmail doesn't care. Chainmail loves you, and chainmail will snuggle you up real nice, every single curve, every single direction. It's all out there, okay? And then you can go crazy. You can maybe make some kind of hybrid situation. You can put like a nice chainmail, you know, shirt over yourself, and then put some pauldrons on and some vambraces and gauntlets, and, you know, gauntlets and all that can be plate. You could have a nice gorget protecting you up here. That could be plate. A nice helmet, right? And you can have this kind of mixture of the both. So you can go a little nuts. I mean, it is a fantasy, right? If you're writing fantasy, the reader should be expected to suspend their disbelief, you know. So you do have options, but the bottom line is that this doesn't work. You should probably be showing more women like this. So that about wraps it up. Boob armor can work if you make some logical adjustments, if things make sense, if you maintain that convex shape in your cuirass. If you stay far, far away from metal cups, you don't want to run the risk of your readers rolling their eyes when you describe your heroine wearing steel underalls. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. I post every Thursday, and I hope to see you back. Please leave some comments about your opinions on boob armor and what your experiences are. I'm sure I've missed some compelling bullet points of the argument from both camps. Feel free to defend or oppose, you know, the use of boob armor. Give examples. If I've missed something, please let me know. But this is what I've found in my own research, and that's that. If you want to read the first chapter of my own novel that depicts a heroine who does not wear boob armor, you can go to jmchaley.com and check out the first chapter right online, and you can follow me on social media. Thanks for watching.